A father blames Scientology for breaking up his home.
And it's destroyed the family. We've always been a happy family, and that now has been destroyed.
How dangerous is the worldwide cult that's homed in on the south of England? The young woman in black doesn't know it, but the man is about to try to recruit her into the fastest growing cult in Britain. The man doesn't say he's a Scientologist. He simply asks whether she'd like to take a personality test. It's the first step in a recruiting process with a very high success rate. In Britain, Scientology claims a following of 200,000, the vast majority of them in the south. Scientology, for all its 35-year existence, has been highly controversial. But in places like Brighton, it's become more than just a controversy. Here, it's a day-to-day reality. The young men and women recruited on these streets are joining one of the most active and powerful cults in the Western world. Scientology exerts huge influence, it commands huge wealth. Yet in southern England, the movement's European power base, there's bitter disagreement about what it is and what it stands for. Is it the road to total freedom, as its followers insist, or is it nothing more than a fraud, and in some cases even the road to total ruin? In this program, we'll be looking at new evidence to try to establish whether Scientology is a force for good or for evil. The Scientologists are building themselves a fortress alongside their national headquarters at East Grinstead, St. Hill Manor. Here they crusade for a better world, a world they say is achievable only through Scientology.
Well, the aims of Scientology are a world without criminality, without insanity, without war, where, good men can flourish and prosper and achieve their goals. And it's very important that people are free to pursue their own course in life, that they're free to seek spiritual freedom, and that they're not hindered in any way in doing this.
Throughout St. Hill are images of the founder and guru of Scientology, American Lafayette Ron Hubbard. Hubbard was a prolific science fiction writer, an American naval officer in the Second World War, an amateur filmmaker and small-time Hollywood scriptwriter, and by the end, a millionaire many times over. Hubbard died last year, but his personality still dominates the cult. His office is kept like a shrine, untouched since his last visit there 20 years ago. Hubbard is dead, but his writings live on in the St. Hill Library. Everything he wrote is here, and his word is the gospel. In particular, the Bible of Scientology, Dianetics. Another important legacy of Hubbard's is the E-meter. Most recruits to Scientology have at least one session like this. The E-meter is based on lie detector principles. Scientologists say it measures stress. Trainee counselors are asked to try it out on teddy bears. Hubbard taught that human beings were hindered in developing their full potential by negative experiences they don't even remember. Engrams, he called them. If people could bring these to the surface and overcome them, they'd be well on the road to total freedom. So the E-meter is just a tool in a process of spiritual therapy which the cult calls auditing.
It's called auditing because the practitioner listens mostly. He asks questions and listens to the answers. So really it's a question of directing the person's attention and getting how they feel about it, and perhaps getting to have a look at new viewpoints on life they haven't looked at before. And the result is that the person sort of says, hey, I didn't know that before. They realize something,
Auditing is supposed to take student Scientologists all the way up the road to freedom. Their ultimate aim is to take control over every aspect of their lives. But the Scientology leadership insists it's not just dogma. They point to their anti-drugs campaigns to show how they're working for the public good. And as further evidence of their good intentions, they single out their bitter opposition to psychiatric methods.
Well, unfortunately, ordinary psychiatric treatment consists of brain surgery, it consists of electric shock treatment, or it consists of drugs. All of these are an attempt to chemically treat something which is more than likely spiritual in nature. So therefore, I could not condone such treatment. It's a basic infringement of human rights to subject somebody to electric shock. I mean, you might as well just beat them over the head with a baseball bat. Probably have a better effect.
Scientologists at St. Hill are proud of their stance on psychiatry, but their many opponents say the cult should not be taken at face value. Among their fiercest critics is Helen Ezekiel. She says in reality the cult is dogmatic and intolerant and does more harm than good. Mrs. Ezekiel blames Scientology for the suicide of her daughter Rita. Rita lived at Crowborough in Sussex with her husband. They were both Scientologists and, like most cult members, strongly opposed psychiatry. But a year ago, Rita became severely depressed.
She cried a lot. She cried and cried, and she could hardly say hello, Mum, to me. She was so depressed, especially towards the end of her life. She was so depressed. She cried all the time. She got no sympathy from her husband. He said there's not much wrong with her, just ignore her. When I said to him, why are you ignoring her? She's obviously ill and you're not doing anything about it.
Rita believed the depression was due to an ear infection, and she went to see a specialist, Catherine Milton.
Catherine Milton tested Rita's ear, and she asked her a few questions about herself, and she told Rita that the problem was more psychological than physical, and that she desperately needed to seek psychiatric help.
But Rita refused to see a psychiatrist. She wrote to her mother, "I feel that there is no real help or improvement to be had from psychiatrists, but my turning to them would just be a way to hide from life and problems." Rita committed suicide in March by inhaling car exhaust fumes in a garage. Scientology insists they did not advise her against psychiatric treatment. Today, her mother is still fighting to establish that cult dogma did contribute to Rita's death.